So sorry about wait, it's not recording. Yes, it is. Sorry. What a day. Yeah, my dogs, who I normally don't even cage up during the podcast because they don't do anything but sleep all day long, decided that the UPS driver delivering a package next door was a threat. So I tried to hit my microphone mute, and I don't know what I hit, but it somehow ended the postcast. So I really apologize about that.
Well,
I really
we were still
apologize
in
because
there. I'm sorry.
no, go ahead, Tina.
It said that we were still live.
Yes, but since I'm the one recording, since I
Okay.
close the window, it's no longer recording.
I
And if
see.
I join in, it won't work.
Okay.
Jennifer, my prayer for you is that you only remember the lovely, happy parts of this day because I know that like you are almost comatose or something and you're really putting in the effort to like do all of this stuff and it's going to be a rough day for you. So I just want you to just everything is wonderful. That's all that
It
you need
is.
to know.
This is honestly a testament to not only how much I love you guys, because I really and truly love you two and Rhonda and love spending time with you doing the podcast and the postcast, but it's also a testament to how serious I am about my career. Like, this
Yeah.
is my future. This God has given me these stories, God has given me this talent, and I am to use it. So what if I am having a rough day? Like, who cares? Because we originally started to do this podcast and postcast because we didn't want to lose touch with each other because you were moving away, Jamie. But then as the idea developed, we realized, when we first started out, meaning like way back when, thought, you know what, I want to write. I really want to finally do this. Um, there were no podcasts. There was nothing for Christian writers that was of any substance or that would help us. And so we felt like we are a few years into this. We are by no means experts, but we are farther along than someone that is like 2 years behind us. And so there's also that for me, that this is also a ministry of what we're doing. So
Mm.
so I'm fine. I thank you for that. Like, but I'll be honest, as soon as we're done, I'm hitting the hay. I'm out.
Great. All right. Well, that's good to hear.
And my
All right.
doggies
So
will be
basically,
happy. They'll be
yes.
too. So
I just want to say thanks for the good feedback. That's all that I was saying. So it was very kind and nice, and I love it. And so that's basically where we left off. And then we have to sadly put you in the chamber of silence. You may
I just
not
want to know, are
speak.
you going to continue this one now? Do you
Oh
think?
yeah, okay, yeah, the feedback was good. I was just not sure. I was not sure if you would even be able to read as far as to find the dead rabbit because I'm like, is she interesting? Like, is this an interesting thing for people to read? Like, I don't know. I'm in a weird place with the writing stuff. So it was very helpful. I really appreciate that.
Good. I'm glad. All right. So my
So
piece,
yes.
I need to look at it again to remember what I submitted.
It's she's looking around the parsonage and making a list of all of the things she needs. It's
All right.
that part.
So now we're getting into the part of this novel here that I was complaining about at the beginning of the podcast. We are getting into, it's not even just the murky middle, it is literally the swamp. This part here, the first half of my act two, I just have so much going on, and I've already deleted. So for if anyone's just now tuning in, this was the first novel I ever started. It's still my baby, even though it's going to be third in the series, and I've already written book 4. This I was originally like 120,000 words, and it wasn't finished. So I've already cut like 30,000 words from this, and it's still like too long and not finished. But there are things to fit with my story structure and fit with what like the arc and things they have to do. They have to fit into this section. Anyway, so my struggle now is to what to cut, what to rewrite, how to make everything make sense and the story still be like enjoyable. So I want to know is like, I just want your opinion on this part. You guys know what I'm struggling with, and I just want to see what you guys have to say.
Okay, before I do that, did you do like contouring to your face with your makeup today or something different than you normally do?
I think it is no. maybe I got my blush too low.
No, you just look very like it is a good job, is all I'm saying.
Oh,
Maybe it's
so
just
what
that
you're
the
trying to
palette.
say, this is Jamie's way of saying you look pretty today, Jen.
Yes,
But
you
you
look
can't
pretty
say that.
today. I know, because I'm wondering if it's like because it's a different color palette. Maybe it matches really nice with your shirt. Like it's all very champagne-y. I don't know. It's very nice.
I did think about the colors. So I'm trying to
Mm.
remember if I did do contouring. I think I might have.
Because
But
you're
it looks,
like your nose has like a very
oh,
squared off thing today.
no, I didn't do my nose. I considered it actually because I saw a video the other day. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I never thought about that because I think I'm kind of not a fan of contouring, but the problem is Michigan in January there is no light outside. It's very
Mm.
gray. So normally I have like something up on my window. I used to use natural light, like from Belgium. We don't have lighting, and I normally have something up to filter the light. But when I put that up, it was too dark in here. It's like how gray it is out there. So this is just pure like harsh.
It looks good.
Oh, well, thank you.
Harsh light is good for you. Okay, now we can talk about your writing. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so goodbye. All right, Tina, what did you have to say about this?
Well, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm echoing. Am I echoing?
Nope, you sound great, actually.
Okay, I'm just echoing to myself. I feel like she was asking us what she could cut if we thought I'm not really clear on what she was asking us, but I liked the piece. I really like Phoebe. But if she's looking for stuff to cut, I think that she could shorten this down quite a bit and just give us the bare bones, and it would still work for what she's trying to accomplish for this scene.
I do wish Rhonda were here because I agree with you, except that this is exactly the parts of books that I hate to read. So I'm not sure if my reluctance to really fully enjoy this is because I just don't like to read this stuff, or if it's because it really should be cleaned up. Because, like, I'm wanting to take the Ernest Hemingway treatment to it and be like, why do you have to say because blah, blah, blah? And so I tried to find a piece to exemplify what I'm talking about. And do you see, Tina, where are you looking at the piece? On the first page when she says she turned to the kitchen?
Let's see. I'm trying to
So
find it.
1, 2, roughly 4 paragraphs down.
Yes.
Okay, before I go any further, do you remember when you were describing that cabin in that piece that you submitted once upon a time?
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, you don't have to say over there was a little stool and over there was a little book and over there. Do you know what I mean? It feels like there's a lot of that happening here. And I
Right.
get that she's doing like a Jeanette Oak quaint town that you have to describe for everybody. But at the same time, it's just too much. So I took that paragraph. And so, for example, I put, she turned to the kitchen, if it could be called that. There was a cooking stove. And then I chopped out her thinking about how is she going to heat it in the winter, because I don't think that that's necessary. So there was a cooking stove, a table with a built-in shelf underneath, and 2 shelves hanging above. Skippity skip. Dr. Berger said that there would be kitchen items, but Phoebe saw none. Phoebe said, you know what I mean? It's just kind of almost like too much of a laundry list of then she looked at this and then she looked at that, right?
Right.
No writer wants to hear rewrite, but at the same time, I think if this writer wrote this piece today, it would not be so laborious. It wouldn't be so laundry list of what she sees when she looks around.
Right. I just felt like there was a lot of detail in there that, although it's nice, and some people might want to read it, especially fans
Historical
of this
people.
genre.
Mhm.
Yeah. If she's looking to make it shorter because she's trying to cut, that this would be a good scene to really go in with the scalpel and take out a lot of the detail and just stick to the important pieces of detail. Like,
And I
you
want
know, what you said about she turned to the kitchen, if it could be called that. That says a lot just in that sentence to me.
like, do we need to know there are 2 shelves, for example? So,
Right.
and I think the author just really needs to make a decision about what's like, I think it's important for her in her mind that we know this town because she was reading Jeanette Oak and the whole Mountie stories and all that. So maybe the advice she gave to you would do well for her if she goes back to the Jeanette Oak and finds out, how does Jeanette Oak make you know this town without saying there was one street, it intersected with the other street. Like, so I don't know if there's a more artful way to do it or not, but that may be more important than how many shelves are in Phoebe's kitchen, right? So like,
Right.
so keep those words, but maybe get rid of some of the interior stuff. And really that's just a basic general for this whole piece. Like, so when she went to go and look at the catalog, Phoebe looked at all the different styles displayed in the catalog. There were quite a few. She hadn't thought about seller size. So I would just say something like, Phoebe looked at all the dizzying choices displayed in the catalog. Don't have to say she never thought about it. Just the fact that you're saying there were so many that it was overwhelming is enough to tell the reader that she hadn't thought about before that she would have a choice, right?
Right.
See what I'm saying?
Yes,
So it's just
exactly.
it's kind of like you could just tighten up these little areas with,
Right.
um, lots of extra words.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, but again, this is all with the great big giant stamp of, I don't like to read this part of books. Like, this is not my favorite. Like, I would like be cutting and cutting because I just don't enjoy it. It is not necessarily, I'm not necessarily right. Is I guess what I'm trying to say about it. Arr.
I tend not to read all those kind of details too. When people start describing towns or curtains or rooms, I tend to skip forward. So, like, yeah, maybe she should wait for Rhonda.
but I
But
but
I
I
still say that if her goal is to find stuff to cut, I think she could cut that down and still say what she needs to say and have it a lot shorter.
Yes. Also, I don't understand. Did you understand who's the fancy city girl now? Like, because to me, that was a pretty fancy city girl thing to do, to be worrying about her hair, but she didn't have a mirror. Do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't understand the joke there. So I want the author to clarify that for me.
Yeah, I'm not
Um,
sure.
yeah, it's on the last page. It's the joke. Remember, she built that tower of buckets so she could look in the mirror at her
Right,
hair.
right, yeah.
So I don't get that, but okay, so overall, love this story. Oh, and I have to say, if anybody was around for the other podcast, the other postcast, when I was so mad at Reverend Albright, I am a crazy person because I'm still mad at him. And when I read how nice he is to Phoebe in this story, I just get madder and madder. So I'm just saying that I am insane because he's not even a real person. And I'm like, sure, buy this one, all kinds of stuff, and kick the other one out, whatever. Like, so I'm just saying. But he's real to me, Phoebe's real to me. None of those issues are present here. It's just she asked and I'm saying I would do some cutting. That's kind of the
Right.
bottom
If
line.
she hadn't if I hadn't been reading this with the knowledge that I was going to be expected to give a critique, it would have just been another story I was
Yeah.
reading and I would have just skimmed right. I mean, I would have read it and it would have been great and I would have kept going with the story.
Yes, I totally agree with you because I wouldn't care enough to stop and read about how many shelves. I'd be like, "Oh, she's describing. Oh, she's, whatever. Moving on, right?" And then the church, I mean, arguably because I tried to look at the church and say, "Well, how would I cut any of this?" And I didn't see even so much I would cut. Maybe it's like the voice of it or something because the details of the church are kind of nice. Hmm. Because I felt really bad to come and say, "You should trim it down," but not say how. So I guess that would have to be more of a conversation, going through it a little more carefully, I guess.
Yeah.
So I put in my edit, how important is this as she's standing at looking at her new town, right? And I think that this is very important that she knows. Yeah, but then I think in that case, if it's that important, she needs to name the streets. Elm Street ran this way and such and such street ran that way. And then we have to guess how Phoebe knows this, or Phoebe has to somehow already know from whatever. Or maybe even one of those ladies could show back up and say, oh, blah, 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 this way and this way. Or maybe Reverend Albright's had a chance to walk around and he says, this is the street, whatever. But the point is, if it's important for us to know this town and you're trying to make us love the town and do a Tolkien thing with the hot, which I never read any of that either. I'd be like, tell me more about this elf village. No, I don't care. Right. So anyway, I think that the readers will want it though. And I think that's what she wants, is for them to feel like they know this place and could be walking around there. So, I get that I may not be the right person. I'll shut up now. Talking way too much.
Okay.
All right. So should we let her come out?
Yes.
Come out, Jennifer.
Thank you very much for that. I really, really appreciate that. Was some great feedback. And I'm also really sad that Rhonda's not here. Not because I want her to counter what you guys say, but I do value her opinion. Jeanette Oak. I am so very much influenced by Jeanette Oak. I don't know if I've ever shared this or not, but when I was 12, my grandmother gave me my first Jeanette Oak book and proceeded to buy me every single. I devoured them.
Aww.
And that's how I got into Christian romance, was because of my grandmother buying me those books, and very, very influenced by them. And which is, you said that I should read them again. That's the problem, is that this is very Jeanette Oak.
Oh.
And what I don't like about Jeanette Oak's books is that she spends a lot of time not in the middle of the romance. And I want to write romance. Like, hers was considered Christian romance, but she was the one the pioneer that paved the way for the rest of us. There really wasn't a thing called Christian romance really before she came and did it. And
wow.
so it was very much she kind of had to play the line between like a Laura Ingalls Wilder type story and making it more romantic. And so, but I am very influenced by her, and probably not in a great, hopefully in all the good ways. But this book, I mentioned it a long time ago. I had this idea in my head for years. And then I found an old Jeanette Oak book that I had never read. I'd found it in a used bookstore. And so I bought it, and then I never got around to reading it. I'm like, oh, I'm going to read this. And I read it, and I'm like, oh, nuts. As I started reading it, I'm like, this is the story. I'm like, so, now I can't write it. And then by the time I finished the book, I'm like, I totally have to write the book now because I hate what she did with it. And I adore her. I idolize, well, I don't idolize her, but I adore her and I respect her, but I did not like that story. And I think that part of the problem with this scene is it was very kind of much like that. Like, so I am spending too much time with description because that is kind of what old school Christian romance would do. And my writing nowadays, I don't think does this anymore. So I probably need to really look at it again. But yet it's still, because it is so different than the other three books, the setting is so different. I have to find a good balance between description and over describing. So that
yes. And here, go ahead, Tina.
Well, I was just going to say, this was your first novel and you were writing it during Nano, correct?
No.
Oh, you weren't. Okay.
No,
never mind.
No, I started in January and I spent months writing it whenever I had free time. That's why it was so long. I just kept writing. I had no story structure in mind. I just was writing stories about these people.
Well, and since it was your first, and your writing has improved. It's supposed to. That's what happens. The more you write, the more you improve. And so I'm sure that you can tighten that up and, lose some of those excess words that you're worried about.
Yeah, it's just that's the struggle, is because I don't hate the writing.
Right.
It isn't like,
it's not bad writing. It's good writing.
If I wish I hated it. I wish I would open and go, oh my gosh, this is junk. So then I could just throw, but it's hard. So it's hard.
Do you want me to just go at it with my red pen?
I should just let you go at it, because I really honestly should, because it's kind of one of those things that, like, if I hated it, it would be so much easier just to throw it out, but I don't hate it. And so the idea of rewriting completely from scratch something that's not bad is very hard to stomach.
Okay,
I wouldn't start from scratch. I would just concise. Like, what's the word? To make concise what you already have.
Right. So listen. Although the small dresser was adequate enough, there was something different about it. Totally unnecessary. The small dresser had no mirror, is all you need to say. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, so you're like, although the small dresser was adequate, there was something different about it. It took her a moment before she realized there was no mirror. Like, do you know what I'm saying? And so if you say, although the small dresser was, the dresser was small and had no mirror. She spun around. There was no mirror anywhere in the parsonage. That sounds more like, Phoebe. This is like, right? And also,
Yes.
you talk a lot less about how she feels about things and what she is physically seeing with her eyeballs, which also is not how you've been writing lately.
True. Very,
So
very true.
I think that that's kind of why you're feeling like this is not authentic-ish or something. It's not,
Mhm.
but it's not horrible. Like you said, it's just kind of not you, right?
Right. I agree.
But again, you could leave this just as is, and people would be like, okay, this is
But
just,
I won't be.
you
'Cause
won't
I'm
be
not
happy with
happy
it.
with it. I'm
Right.
not. Like, I love these characters so much. Of all my characters, these are possibly my favorite 2 characters. And this is why I think I had nightmares last night, because I feel like I'm just stressing out about making it right. And I do always feel like God gives me these stories, and then it's a responsibility I have to make it as accessible and as good as I can for the people that are going to read it. And I feel like God's got a purpose in that. But I think that, yeah,
But if we were going to snowflake this, okay, it's 3 pages of very tiny font to say the cabin is small and has no mirror. She figures out a way to have a mirror. She has a conversation with her dad. She goes outside to look around the town, right? So if you were to rewrite a scene where all of those things happen, how long would that take you? And then maybe look at this and kind of see which feels better, right?
yeah.
But don't go back and reread this. You said it's been a while since you looked at it,
Mhm.
but just maybe during a writing sprint, just see what happens if you rewrote that scene.
That's a great idea. And it's needed, as much as painful as that will be, to like, because I think that this is just the beginning, because this
But
scene
it'll be a
here,
lot shorter.
this scene is like, oh my gosh, we're not even to this part. I just realized it's still over here. Oh my gosh.
But it'll be a lot shorter and it'll come easy. It'll come very easy for you
I know.
because you have a roadmap of what you need to say. You just need to
Yeah.
describe a small cabin, describe the church, and have this you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Also, I did not remember who the young Master Sperry was. Do you talk about him immediately before this? Because the
Young
guy at
what?
is it Master Sperry? Spear Boy, the Spear Boy. I don't know who he is. I've forgotten him already. So unless you just recently mentioned
Yes.
him,
He is, Mrs. Spear was kind of the leader of the welcoming committee that, and she invited her to dinner that night. So said that her someone come pick him up. So it happens like
oh,
this, but I might take that dinner out completely, to be honest. So we might be fine. I might take that whole thing out. Oh, there was something else I was
it's
gonna
just
say
one
too.
scene. It's just one scene.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean?
but look at all this behind me. Like
Okay.
they're all in need of this.
How do you
stuff.
eat an elephant, right?
I know, one piece at a time, one bite at a time. You're right. You're
But
right.
so far, we haven't sent you back to do a rewrite, have we?
No, but I wasn't struggling with the first few chapters. It's
Yeah.
the others, and I'm not struggling with the last chapters. It's the murky middle. Honestly, it's
But really, this is the part of the story that will make your reader love your whole thing.
yeah,
No pressure, because they have to be like invested in this town and invested in the challenge of living in this space and kind of right.
right.
And so if you set this scene up right, possibly the rest of it will just feel like gravy because then it's just people interacting. So you just
Mhm.
have to get them into the setting and then she's facing challenges as it goes. So this would probably be just the hardest part. And then it's all downhill from here, I would think, right?
Right. I agreed. All right, I appreciate that. It's what I needed to hear, and that's why I submitted this, not just because it was next in line, because I could have submitted something from Sarah's story. I purposely submitted this because I knew that I needed to hear some hard truth, and I appreciate that a lot. So, and
Well, we appreciate you.
I love that the characters are real to you guys. I just love that.
Oh, so tell me the city girl joke.
Oh, the city girl. Okay, so the welcoming committee. Um, the Mrs. Smith, who is the nasty lady, calls her a city girl in a very derogatory term, like that she's never gonna last here because she's a fancy city girl. And so I was trying to reference that, like she is
Resourceful.
she's resourceful.
Gotcha
But
now. Now I get it.
is it okay? Or I mean, like, we'll see it because I got to rewrite it anyway. So don't answer that question, We'll see if the next.
Yeah,
draft is
see what
okay.
yeah, see what happens because she may I don't know, whatever. It might
All right, but I have to have the mirror and the bucket scene in there, and you'll see why later. It plays into the
because she
story later.
sees someone in the mirror. Is she
I don't know.
super fun?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, I think that's
The
it
other
then.
problem with all this parts here, it's like almost every scene I have some sort of Easter egg in it. Like I have two in this book, but I don't know how to remove them because then it affects things later. So
Well, we're gonna help you get through it because we're getting all 4 of these books published post haste.
yes,
Because I've got a whole audience full of people for you that I could be like, oh, you need to read my friend Jen's books because they would love them. Love them.
Somebody I know just asked if people to recommend new reading to her. And I said, go to my friend's website and get this book for free.
Oh, yeah.
And then I said, go to this and go get this book by J.R. Nichols. I love it.
Very awesome.
thank you, Tina. I appreciate that.
And I did say AKA Jamie Hirschberger because it was somebody from our co-op that asked it. And if they wouldn't read it because they thought that sci-fi light sounded intriguing, they would read it because, oh, we know her.
Thanks, Tina. That's great. I hope all of you will go download Jennifer's book and
Yeah.
buy a copy of mine. Yes, that would be amazing. All right. What else? That's it, huh?
Guess that's it. It's a lot different without Rhonda here.
It is. It
Yeah, it'll be
feels
a fun
weird.
Yeah.
We'll have to make sure we tell her.
Yes, for sure. And
It wasn't the same.
right. And if you're watching this and you want to reach out to her on social media and say, I missed you, that would be great too. But I got to say, if she's going to pick a week to not be here and make the postcast shorter, this was a great week because I'm about ready to crash.
Have a good nap.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Bye, ladies.
Bye. Thanks for joining us.